it's me, Ryan, back here for a new video. I've stopped the interviews for a while because of COVID, but it's starting back up and I'm trying to get interviews organised. But this week's interview will be with Scott Robertson. And before I start, I'm really sad to hear about the passing of Sean Niven. It's really sad to hear, and he'll be missed by all the people at Shinor. So let's just get into it. Talk me through your early years as being a footballer.
So my youth career started off at K Park, probably when I was about 6, just a local team in Kilmarnock. We trained in a gym hall at a wee local school, and we always for the first 3 or 4 years played a year above ourselves, so I think we started training when we were maybe 6. And we went into the under 8s when we were a year younger, so we were always playing above ourselves against kind of bigger boys and stuff. I think it was kind of stood everything in good stead for a couple of years, playing against the bigger boys. I was there for years. Most of the boys that played with K Park stayed there for kind of most of their youth football until they went to pro youth. There was loads of us went to pro youth teams, myself, Stephen Lennon, Jim Kirkwood, Neil Stevenson, Stuart Burns, I think pretty much everybody went to a pro youth club at one time or another. A lot of the time we all went together to Rangers, Kilmarnock, Ayr. There was a group of us always went to these different places. So yeah, K Park, I think I was there for, if I started when I was 6, maybe 8 years, until I eventually signed with Queen of the South. So as far as kind of influences go and stuff like that, probably Jimmy Kirkwood, the manager at K Park, would have been a big one. He was the manager the whole time we were there. My dad, obviously. Funnily enough, my dad played rugby, didn't ever play football, and he was a wee 5'11" winger midget. So weird that he wanted me to play football, but he took me everywhere, so it's obviously a big influence that way, and pushed me and got on at me if I wasn't pulling my weight. My mum as well for taking us all over the place, and probably my grandpa was he was a big Rangers fan, which I'm not, and you can remember playing a football out the back door with him when he was, I think he had a fake knee and everything. He was diving about in goals because I wanted to hit shots. So those are probably my influences. Obviously playing with the school teams and stuff like that. I had one teacher, Mr. Smith, Paul Smith. He his dad was a coach at Ayr as well, I think. So he had us in at Ayr, just for playing through the school team. So he was quite a big influence as well in kind of primary 6, primary 7 age. Even then, kind of pushing us into kind of pro youth teams. But yeah, as far as my kind of youth boys club career goes, and influences, that would be them, yeah.
You started your career at Queen of the South. What's your memories from this time?
So I think I eventually signed with Queen of the South when I was 15. It was Gordon Hislop, and he was down watching a game I was playing with K Park, I think, at Troon Juniors pitch. And I think he got my number and phoned us and asked us if I wanted to go down. So I must have been 15. I'm going down to training, running for school, literally running for school. I would nip into my gran's, grab a sandwich or a roll, run to the train station, get the train from Kilmarnock to Dumfries, run for the train station, which is a fair run from Dumfries to the train station to Palmerston, train, run back to the train station to make the last train and get up the road, probably for about 11:30, and then back up for school the next day. That's kind of where it started with Queen of the South. It was probably tough going, but you don't even think about it at the time. It's what you want to do. So I think about halfway through the season, first season there, we were playing for the under-19s. I was playing with the reserves as well pretty quickly. Got asked to go up to the reserves, and trained with the first team a couple of times when I was 15. John Connolly, I think they'd asked a couple of young boys to go up for a bounce game on the pitch. So that was probably my first time I ever trained with the first team. Players like Brian McLaughlin, wee Eddie that was at Celtic, guys like that, and the first team at that point. So it was an experience at 15. So kind of moved on to the reserve team, and it was Gordon Hislop was the reserve team manager and Fred Smith, and they were brilliant. Still talk to Hissy anytime I see him now. He's a great guy. So was Fred. I don't see him as much, but Hissy's got a lot to do with Annan now. He's a cracking guy, and he was really good with us and pushed us on, and he would give you it if you weren't doing it, but he gave you a lot of confidence, and he gave me a lot of praise anyway. But I really enjoyed playing for the reserves when he was there. At 15, getting up and playing with reserves in the Southern Counties Cup final, I think we beat 3-0 when I was 15. On Palmerston, there was a fair wee amount of fans there, and it was brilliant. So he called us maybe just after the Christmas, the first season, to say that they were going to have a crack at full time, or kind of hybridish it was at the time. So he'd say they wanted me to do it. He'd put my name to the manager and stuff like that. So that was it. It was, as soon as I could leave school, I was going to leave school and go and play full time, which was great. So we trained in the mornings and at nights. Some of the boys are still part time for the first year or two, and then it went totally full time. The kind of later years, obviously, I made an appearance in the Scottish Cup final and the UEFA Cup. By that point, I probably wasn't enjoying it as much as I had at the start. I definitely wasn't playing as well, for one reason or another. And yeah, it just kind of frittered out. Nothing particular. It just didn't really happen. So with some good times there. I've still got some really good friends. We're still in a group chat with all the boys for the Scottish Cup final squad, believe it or not, which was 13, 14 years ago. So still keep in touch with all these guys, and one of my best mates in football was for that squad. And yeah, it was a really good time, right up to the end. Just not particularly football wise for myself, but as far as the squad and the group and the club, it was really good. Just unfortunately, it never quite happened for me at the end when I was there, but a good experience, and probably the fact that it wasn't as good probably set me up for the rest of my career, to be honest. So yeah, it was good.
Then you went on and played for some good clubs, Stirling, Partick and Arbroath. What was your highlight from the clubs?
When I left Queen of the South, I went to Stirling Albion, First, I'd played with John O'Neill, who's a Queen of the South legend. The last two seasons I was there, and he was then the assistant manager at Stirling, and he'd kind of taken a liking to us, and as soon as he heard I was leaving, he got on the phone and asked me if I wanted to go and meet the manager, Murray. So I went and met him and Alan Moore, and had a chat with him, and ended up signing. So I knew a few of the boys, not too many. I knew John and I knew a couple of other boys, but not great. So it was a fresh start. I think I was 21, 22. It was the first time I went part-time at that point for a year or two. It was totally different. But as far as highlights go, we won the league the first season I was there, so that was League One. It would be now. So at that point I was a box-to-box midfielder, so I think I scored 7 goals that season, which is still by far my highest. I think probably 2 is the most I've scored in the one season after that. But the first season at Stirling was really good. I think at one point we were maybe 13 points off Alloa, who were top of the league, and we played Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I think we had so many games to catch up. Alloa, I think, beat us 4 times that season as well, and we won the league on the last day of the season, away to Brecon in goal difference, which was unbelievable. Believe it or not, it was helicopter Saturday. The helicopter, I think us, Alloa and possibly Cowdenbeath could still win the league. Somebody else could still win the league. Can't remember who it was. And we won it. So the trophy got brought over by helicopter, but it was in Brecon and it was freezing. And by the time the helicopter got there, we just wanted a shower and to go on the bus because it was Baltic. But no, that's one of the biggest highlights in my career. That was unbelievable. I actually felt part of that as opposed to the kind of Scottish Cup team, the UEFA Cup. I wasn't really playing regular. You were always in the squad and stuff, but when you're not playing regular, it doesn't feel the same. You don't feel like you're contributing as much. Whereas the year we won the league, I certainly contributed a lot. So that was good. I then went to Partick Thistle. Partick was great. It was back full time. It was what I wanted to do. The training was really good. Simon Donnelly and Jackie McNamara were really good. The squad was great. A lot of good guys. We done relatively well that season, but I had quite a bad knee injury. I dislocated my knee maybe about 5 or 6 games into the season, and I was out for 3.5 months-ish. So it wasn't ideal. I think I still played most of the games that I was fit for. I think I started 21 or 23 league games, which was pretty good considering I'd been out for 3.5 months. But the whole season was a highlight, really. It was good. It was full-time football and we played well, and Jackie McNamara and Simon Donnelly were good guys. So no, I really enjoyed the whole year at Partick. It just when the injury I had, they couldn't really take a risk on offering us an improved deal, and I could have signed for the same kind of deal that I was on, but it wasn't really, with a family and stuff, it wasn't really working out. So I knew myself I had to go part-time, and I couldn't continue to live on what I was. So off we went to Arbroath, which is another good season for the most part, with Paul Sheeran as a manager. The kind of main highlight would be the Celtic Scottish Cup draw, 1 each, and then we only lost 1-0 in the replay. The replay was on Sky, I'm sure, up at Arbroath, but it was brilliant. The 1 each game was brilliant. It was probably the first time I had played a big old firm team, and it was great. I think I was maybe 24, 25 at the time. I don't remember thinking, oh no, we could get a down here. It was good. playing against Scott Brown, Wanyama, and you could actually, believe it or not, even at Celtic Park, with a team as small as, or a club as small as Arbroath at the time, you could sense that we could get something out of the game after the longer the game was going on. I remember I think they bring on a sub and we had a shy, and I said to Brian Kerr, how are you feeling? And he said, oh, I'm burst. And I was like, I'm burst as well, but we're going to get something here. Honestly, I genuinely felt we're going to get something here. And I think we scored in the 87th minute with a free kick. You could just tell the way the crowd were getting on their back, and they were misplacing passes, and Scott Brown was going off his nut at them, and it was funny. You could really tell that something was going to happen. So that was a highlight of the season, of my career. Really, it was a really good game to play in.
Then came your big move in 2013 to Stair Park. What was the reason for joining the Blues?
I eventually signed with Stranraer. I'd played or trained with them a couple of pre-seasons, I think, before I went to Partick, and then before I went to Arbroath. I had trained with them, and I knew Chris Aiken. Every kind of summer he asked us if I wanted to come in and train, whether it was to sign or keep fit or do whatever I was doing while I was looking for a club, or kind of whatever. And it turned out that I think the third time I'd went in for pre-season, I thought the team was looking good and had managed to stay up in League One. I think the first season I'd went into training on League Two, and I signed with Partick in the Championship. The second season they'd come into League One, and I signed with Arbroath, and then they'd managed to stay up, and I came in the third season to train, and the team was looking quite good. They'd signed a couple of good players that I knew from before. Martin Grehan for Stirling, Mark Corcoran was in training at the same time as me, so I was kind of talking to him, are you going to sign, blah blah blah. They had Sparky was in training, Tiff was already there, McKenna was in, that was at Stirling when we won the league, Grant Gallagher was there, who I knew for Kilmarnock. So it looked as if it was going to be a good team, and I thought, yeah, you know what, I'm going to give this a go this season. And they'd been great with me coming in to let me train and stuff like that, so I thought, yeah, why not? I'm going to give it a go. I got on well with Ginge, and Faz was assistant manager. I met him in Kilmarnock and had a chat with him and about actually signing, and I thought, yeah, I think it's probably the right time to do it. So yeah, that was it. It was just kind of things fell into place at the right players there at the right time, and you get a good vibe out it and you think, yeah, I'm going to do it.
You scored 12 goals for the club. Is there any goal that stands out?
My favourite goal, or my best goal, would probably be, I think, my first goal for the club. I think it may have been my first or second competitive game in the Cup against Brechin at Stair Park. One of the previous interviews I think I did during lockdown, I was talking about it, but I don't think I've scored many goals since then, so yeah, it's still probably my best one. And just cut inside and kind of whipped it in the top far corner. I still remember Sparky squealing at me on the way down the line because I hadn't passed it to him until I seen it was in the top corner. So that's probably still my best goal. I think I scored a volley against Steny that was decent as well. But none of my goals have really been that good, to be honest. The Albion Rovers goal, the volley, there was a couple of good pictures of that one. I don't know why the celebration for that one was so... people seem to like that celebration for some reason. I'm not sure why. I think I maybe got a wee bit overexcited, but I liked that goal as well. I think it was more I liked that goal more for kind of for the team. it was at the point where we'd lost a few players, and the money situation wasn't very good, and people were kind of looking at us thinking Stranraer could go down. They've lost the captain, they've lost their goalkeeper, they've lost another couple of decent players. I think Brian Wallace was one of them, and people thought they could go down here. And I think we'd won 2 or 3 games in a row by that point, away to Albion Rovers, and a horrible pitch and horrible weather, and people expecting you to not get a result at some point. It was maybe just a build-up, probably kind of thinking, get it up a wee bit, to be honest, when I scored that one. Thinking, no, it's not going to happen, we're not going down. So yeah, that was quite a good one, as far as feeling kind of emotional wise, not emotional, but happiness wise, like kind of getting. Whereas the Brecon was good because it was a good finish for a change.
You've played for some big games at the club. What is your favourite highlight?
The playoff games obviously are a big highlight, particularly the first Livingston game at home. I can't remember, was it 5-2 it finished, I think. Should have been 6-2. I missed a sitter in the last couple of minutes. That was a brilliant game. I actually watched that back. I think it got put on the YouTube channel during lockdown. I watched it back, and I actually couldn't believe how good we were. It was a joke how good we were. Some really good players in that team: Paul Kearney, Willie Gibson, to name a few. But yeah, that game, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The last half hour of the second leg was pretty good as well, when Dicko and Jammer scored. Not so much the last half an hour and 90 minutes. But yeah, so the semi-final of the playoffs, that was probably a highlight. The final was good as well. We didn't deserve to lose the final at all. Even their players said that, to be honest, after it. Brian Gilmore, Neil Scally, even McCall said we didn't deserve it. So it is what it is. Not much you can do about it, but it was a good season from the Christmas onwards, or just after the Christmas onwards. We went on a really good run. The first 2 seasons were both great. We got beaten in the playoff semi-final, but the actual seasons were both really good, apart from being injured in the second season for 6.5 months. But even then, it was still, had I been injured and it was a bad squad and we weren't doing well, it would have been horrific. But it was brilliant. It was a great squad, brilliant boys. Still talk to loads of them all the time. Some absolute nutcases, but what a squad it was. Without being disrespectful, we probably were one of the greatest players in that squad. We played a basic 4-4-2, and we just went toe to toe with anybody. It was, when you look back at it now, it was a joke. We were playing SPL teams and we just went, let's go, let's just see what happens. We drew Inverness, we beat Ross County, won the SPL. The 5-3 game at Hibs. That squad just had a bit about it. It had serious balls, that squad. Everybody, there wasn't one person in that squad that wouldn't go, know what, let's just roll the sleeves up and go getting about it, and we'll see what happens. And more often than not, we won. It's probably one of the only teams that I've played in that you went into games every weekend, and it wasn't an arrogance really. Maybe a wee bit arrogance, but good teams, I think you need that. It's probably something you don't really get at this level. You either get people that are kind of big time arrogant, but you don't get people that are arrogant in the kind of right way, and that they think, I think we can win the day. And we had that in that squad. We went into every game thinking we were going to win. It was brilliant. absolutely brilliant. And as I said, there was some maniacs in the team. Maniacs, some of the bus journeys, it was bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. I'm pretty sure one of them was on the way home from Peterhead, and a lot of the directors and stuff were on the bus, and it was carnage. And they loved it, to be fair. But aye, it was that squad was a bit of a different breed, especially for League One. It was good. The Rangers game, obviously during that first season, they won each game. Again, that was another one, playing an old firm team like the Celtic one, where you knew it was coming, you could just feel it. They weren't great at the time, which sounds ridiculous because it's Rangers, they were also better than us, but they weren't really firing, and we kind of felt that I think they'd won every game, and I think if they'd won that game, they'd have made history for more consecutive games won or something like that, and we just felt there was something coming, and again, it was just the same for that squad. It was just a case of, let's just go and see what happens, we'll just go for it, we'll go toe to toe. We didn't really ever think about sitting in. We weren't that kind of team. It was just like, we'll go for it, and if we win, we win. If we don't, then we'll go down swinging. Like, but aye, so those games are all highlights. Hibs, the 5-3 game, brilliant game again. Again, it was just typical of that team, that squad at the time. It was like two boxers standing in a blue ring, just slogging it out. It was just, see who could score more than the other team. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so those are all highlights for Stranraer and some of the squads I've been in.
You're voted into Stranraer's Team of the Decade. What was it like to be highly regarded by the fans?
It was obviously great to get voted into the Stranraer Team of the Decade. As I said, there's obviously a lot of players play any position over the course of a season, never mind over 10 years. So yeah, a massive achievement, and it's brilliant that the fans think of me as the best right back we've had in the last 10 years. It's something that I appreciate, and I think it's brilliant. Just hopefully we can keep going for another few years, maybe not right back, but I thoroughly enjoyed playing right back for most of the time I was at Stranraer, and I think, as I said, after the draw, or the vote, sorry, that I didn't really see myself as a right back, which I probably didn't, to be honest. I know I played there quite a lot, but I still probably see myself as more of a centre half. So aye, it's not too bad as far as I'm concerned to have been the best right back when I probably didn't think it was my best position. But I thoroughly enjoyed playing there, and you got to go forward, and it's a wee bit more exciting than centre half. So no, it was great, and thankful for the fans for voting me into the team.
You're now a part of the Stranraer coaching team. Are you enjoying the new role?
Yeah, so obviously being the coaching staff's great, something I've always wanted to get into since I was early 20s, and I had my B licence done by the time I was 26, my A licence done by the time I was 30, so that's relatively young considering you're normally still playing at that point, and I obviously was still playing at that point. So yeah, it was great. Probably came a year to 2 years earlier than I expected, but I jumped at the chance. It was only not expected because I didn't expect it to happen while I was still playing. So to be able to do it as a player coach is is great. Really enjoying it. Totally different challenge. But I think the boys have done really well. There's just so much to do. It's so different to just keep yourself to yourself as a player. You just get on with what you need to do, and you only really need to prepare yourself. But as a coach, you're preparing a full squad. I think we've got 22. When everybody's fit at the moment, you've got a squad of 22 players. So you're kind of accountable for every day and keeping every day fit and on their toes and happy. And but I think we've done that this season. I think you can see from the way the boys go about things with each other and the way they celebrate goals, how they work for each other. I think you can see there's a real togetherness, and that's what we're trying to bring. A togetherness, and I genuinely think there is with the players. There's a real togetherness that probably hasn't been here for a good few years. We've got a lot of really young boys in the squad, and we've got some good experience, and it's a good mix. The young ones help the old ones, and the old ones help the young ones. So yeah, really enjoying it, and as I say, that's something we want for the full club. It's just a togetherness, and every day working together is kind of what we're aiming for. Obviously, in recent years, there's been some, I wouldn't say arguments, but there's been some moans and groans about certain things, and I mean, we just want to get the best 11 players on the pitch that we can, the best squad that we can, finish as high up the league as we can. Everything we do is done to the best of our ability, and we put in so much preparation, and we look at everything from every different angle, and we look at every player we can look at. We go and watch as many games as we can watch. I don't think any of us treat this as a part-time gig, even though it is part-time. We are on it constantly. It's like having another full-time job for us, and that's what we want it to be. That's us that's making it that way. We could come in a Tuesday and a Thursday and a Saturday and that bit, but we want to be better than what we are, and we want to be higher up the league, and we want our training sessions to be better. We want to have the best players that we can get. We want to have things in the club running as best as we can get them, and everybody at the club's been excellent. Sean, Robert Rice, Alec, Hildy, Andy, the groundsman, we Adam, everybody tries their best to do the best job they can do, and that's all we can ask for. So, but and I'm doing this video the day after the Stirling, the 3 draw, and it was brilliant yesterday to see the young boys in with their drum and going mental. They've got the same down at Steny, and it really does create an atmosphere, and even when you've got an extra 30 younger boys smashing their drum, singing, shouting and bawling, having a good time, enjoying the football. We love that. The players love that. That's what you want to see. That's what Scottish football is all about. And the more we can get in the merrier. We just want to try and make it as positive as we can.
What's your ambition for the rest of your career?
So I would probably say my ambitions for the rest of my career, as far as playing goes, would be to get to 300 appearances. I'm not sure how many I've got to go, not many, 15, 20 maybe. So hopefully I'll make it to that landmark, and to get as a player to get promoted as well back to League One. So as a player, that's probably my last couple of ambitions before I retire, because I'm not getting any younger. So I would say I'll probably have the rest of this season and possibly next season left in the locker, and then we'll need to see how the old legs are getting on. But at the moment, I feel really fit. Obviously, I've moved into centre midfield for the first time in maybe 8 years. So it's good to know that I can still do that and still get up and down the pitch, and I feel really good, I feel strong, I feel fit, I feel as if I can go box to box still, which, if I'm being honest, I kind of surprised myself when I get put into centre midfield, that I can still do that, and I think I'm probably getting fitter every game, and I'm able to make more runs every game. So yeah, as far as playing's concerned, that I think I can still contribute, and as long as I feel that I can still contribute, then I'll still play. So we'll see how long that continues. He's welcome to tell me I'm talking rubbish if I'm not contributing anymore. So, aye, but coaching wise, just to improve as a coach, it's still very early doors coaching wise. So, as a coach, you want to get to the highest level. I mean, what is the highest level? Is it the SPL, the English Premier League? Who knows? We'll wait and see. We'll see how it goes. The likes of Jack Ross started off in League Two, and look what he's done in a very short space of time. So you just don't know with football. Football's a strange job, a strange workplace. You can be at the bottom of the ladder and very quickly be at the top of the ladder, and the same way you can be at the top of the ladder and very quickly be at the bottom. So we'll see how it goes. We'll take it game by game, season by season, and we'll improve probably session by session. So yeah, as far as coaching is concerned, obviously ambition is to get to the very top level, a full-time club in one of the top leagues, but that could be a fair few years down the line. So we'll wait and see what happens with that one, but that would be the ambition.
Who's the best player you've played against and why?
I've probably played against quite a lot of good players actually. I think it's hard to remember. When you've played as many games as I've played over the amount of time I've played, I've forgotten so many people. It would probably be good to get a look back through some of the teams that I've played to see if there was anybody that I've forgotten, but the best I've played against, I played against Samaras when he was at Celtic, and he played in the game they beat us 1-0 with Broth, the replay after we drew with them, and he was good, but you could just tell he had another 3 gears to go up if he wanted to. He was just floating past people without really trying, to be honest. He looked as if he didn't try very much, but it actually felt like he wasn't trying when he was playing against us, which was quite annoying. So he was up there. Scott Brown, obviously from the Celtic games as well. He was good. Very tough to play against in every way. And obviously what he's done at Celtic's incredible. He's had an amazing career, and with Scotland as well, so he would be up there. Jermaine Defoe, all the caps he's got for England, the goals he's scored in the English Premier League, coming to end his career when we played against him last season or the season before. But Jermaine Defoe obviously would be up there. But I'm going to go for Nico Crankier. Mainly because he nearly made me fall over in the middle of Ibrox, which was quite embarrassing. And I don't think he was even out a walking pace when he did it. So I think he's also got 80 odd caps for Croatia. So even out with nearly making me fall over, he wasn't a bad player in his day. He played in the English Premier League for years. Harry Redknapp loved him. And technically he was obviously an unbelievable player. Another guy that didn't look as if he could be bothered half the time, but he just had total and utter ability. So the game at Ibrox, I think they beat us 3-0, and funnily enough, Ryan Thompson accidentally two-footed him in the shins. I think he slipped, and by the time we get back into the bus, he had about 30 messages for his pals who are all Rangers fans asking him why he tried to kill Crankier, but he genuinely didn't mean it. He slipped and footed him. But yeah, Nico Crankier for me, he was unbelievable in that game. Ghosted about, did a step over him, nearly put me in my backside, and I think he was walking. So I'll go for him.
What's the best 1 to 11 players you've played with?
So the hardest question probably anybody gets asked when they play football is their best 11. So I'll try and rattle through this quickly. I've had to write it down because I change my mind every time I do this. I've probably done it 3 or 4 times and I've never had the same 11. I'm going to go for Jamie McDonald in goals. Played for us at Queen of the South. He's played in the Scottish Cup final God knows how many times. Unbelievable shot stopper, cracking guy. So I'm going to go for Jamie McDonald, just ahead of Cammy Bell. So Jamie McDonald in goals. Right back, I'm going to go for Sods, Stephen O'Donnell. Played with him at Partick. Played as a kind of wing back for the majority of that season. I think he came in quite late that season, but mega fit, mega quick, and an absolute brilliant guy. Couldn't meet a nicer guy. So I'm really glad he's went on to have the career that he's had and get the Scotland caps that he got. So I'll go for Stephen O'Donnell, right back. Left back, Jamie McQuilkin from Queen of the South. He was just the most laid back guy in the world. But I went for him just in front of Macca, Kieran McDonald, that I played with at Airdrie, who, if he had his head screwed on, could easily play in the SPL. Easily. Ability wise, brilliant. But Jama did play in the SPL and did have his head screwed on, and what a player. I think he was 34, 35 by the time I played with him, and he still strolled it. Centre halves, I'm going for Alan Archibald, who I played with at Partick, a monster. He isn't actually particularly tall, I don't think. I think he's maybe only 6 foot, but his forearms are about the size of my thighs, and if he shouted Archies, you just get out the road, and he dealt with it. There was no messing about. As far as aggression, application, will to win goes, you would have 11 Archies in your team. He's again, he was at the I think that might have been the last season he played, and he was struggling with his knees and stuff, but I had only just started playing centre half at that point, and it was great to play beside him. He talked me through games, he told me what to do, and I really enjoyed playing beside him. The other centre half was between probably the two of the captains I've played under, Stephen Bell and Jim Thompson. Big Jimmy Thompson also scored the goal in the cup final to make it 2 each against Rangers. Again, a cracking guy, a good player, but I think I'll go for Bailey just in front of him, because I played centre half with Bailey, and it's probably the most I enjoyed playing centre half in my career. We worked off each other really well. Bailey was quite aggressive and good in the air, and I was probably better covering him, a wee bit quicker, but we could both read the game, and we kind of helped each other out. He's better in the air than me, and I was a wee bit quicker than him, and it just worked. And I really enjoyed playing beside Bailey. On the right, I've went for Willie Gibson, who at times was unbelievable for us. I played with him at Queen of the South and at Stranraer. He scored some brilliant goals for us. And everybody knows the talent Willie's got. It speaks for itself, the fact that he's managed to get himself fit, and he's back playing in the Championship with Queen of the South. I think he won Player of the Year last year there. So very good player, and a good guy. On the left hand side, hard one between Stirling and Chris Erskine. I've went for Chris Erskine. purely because of the level he got to in playing in the SPL for a number of years at the end up. Still not a very close second, still not at times could be unstoppable, and a very good player, but Chris Erskine just ahead of him, as I say, just because he played in the SPL for a good number of years. We used to have a laugh at Partick, and if you had a really bad game, you say you had a squiddy. His nickname was Squiddy because at times you knew after 5 minutes whether he was going to have a good game or not, and he knew himself. He used to laugh about it, and say things like, I don't know how defenders can know what I'm going to do when I don't know what I'm doing. So again, another really good guy, and a very good player. Centre midfield, I've went for Kearney, Paul Kearney. Brilliant. One of the best players I've played with, to be honest. If he wasn't mental, could have kept playing at a higher level for longer. He was unplayable at times in centre midfield. At Partick I played with him, he played kind of off the left hand side at times, centre midfield at times. The game, I'm pretty sure it sealed his move to Hibs. We played Dundee away, and I think I was playing centre half that game, and he played centre midfield, and he scored a hat-trick and missed a penalty. And one of them, he sat Big Rab Douglas in his backside, ran through one-on-one for the halfway line, sat him down, popped it over his head, and Big Rab chased him all the way to the corner flag and wanted to strangle him, which was quite funny. But Kearney, he was just unstoppable at times. And the other one, Stevie Tosh. Me and Tosher didn't get on particularly well, to be honest, but a good player nonetheless. And we didn't get on very well, probably because he was pretty old at that point, maybe 34, 35, and I was 18, 19, and I probably had a bit too much to say for myself. So he was probably right to give me a slap at times. So, but as I say, football wise, Tosher was a very good player, and again played at a high level for years, and I would go for those two in centre midfield. Strikers, so I've went for close between Chris Doolan and Jama. Obviously Doolan's an unbelievable goal scorer, over 100 goals for Partick. I only played with him one season, and obviously he played in the SPL for years, but on this one I've had to go for Jama just for how good he was in the 2 seasons I played with him. I played with him 3, but the first 2 seasons he was an absolute joke. An absolute joke. You could have put him in an SPL team at that point and he wouldn't have looked at a place and he'd have scored goals. I've never seen anybody as composed in the first 2 seasons when he would wander round keepers and pass it into an empty net. He'd done it numerous times. I'm pretty sure he'd done it a couple of times at Somerset Park, and it was laughable when you actually watch it back and you think, oh my god, like, he's just literally walking round the goalie and putting it in the back of the net and the goalie can't do anything about it. And again, probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So yeah, I'll go for Jama, just based on how good he was those 2 years. Probably the best 2 years I've seen for a striker while I've been playing with him. It was a joke, he couldn't miss, it was a joke. And the other striker I went for Stephen Dobie, who is now playing with FC Fylde, back down in kind of Blackpool. Obviously played with Queen of the South, but he was at Swansea, Blackpool, etc. in the Championship in England. Ability wise, he was unbelievable. He could do things finishing wise that I don't think I've ever seen since, or I had never seen before. And we beat Ayr 7-1 in the Annan tournament when I was 18, and he scored 6, I think he scored 5 or 6. Big Barry John Cobb was in goals, he was dinking them, half volleys, headers, left foot, right foot. I think he scored 1 everything that game. But talent wise, he was incredible. So yeah, that's my that's my best 11. I've intentionally not picked any players or coaching staff that I play with Stranraer now, for obvious reasons, because I would get slaughtered if I did. So there's a few missing for there, and a wee mention for Malky Tiff, that I did play with, that were very close to being in the team, but unfortunately just missed out. But they would be my first two subs.
Have you any funny football stories?
So I've got a couple of wee stories for you to finish off. I'll give you three. The only three I could think of that probably you could put on this. Most of the stories involved in football, you couldn't put it to the you probably couldn't put it to the public. Some of them are a bit mad. So you can pick whatever one you want to put on, or you can put them all on. Do what you want. Obviously, it's your show, right? You do what you want. Don't let me tell you what to do. So the first one was when I was at Queen of the South. There was a boy called Craig Barr who still plays at Cowdenbeath. I think he's Cowdenbeath captain, and his nickname was Yegi. And don't ask me how, but I'm sure the guy's like a financial something or other now. He was thick as mince. Great guy, and he won't mind me saying, at that point when we were 18, he wasn't the brightest tool in the box. However, his dog died. I think his dog's name was possibly Tara. But his dog died, and he didn't come into training for days, and nobody knew what was going on. And eventually the gaffer told us that he was taking time off because his dog had died, which isn't really that funny. But he then came in on the Saturday. We were playing away to Clyde, and he came in and he didn't bring his boots or anything, and he sat in the corner of the changing room and didn't want to be involved in the game. So again, what you do, I don't know. I'm not sure if the gaffer knew, or I don't know. So we went into training the Monday, and I'm not sure if we'd lost or whatever, but we had a video analysis session, and the gaffer was going mental, because I think we must have lost. The gaffer was going mental, and he says to him at one point, "What about you? Look at shape, you're in great shape, and blah blah blah, and you're not playing because your dog's died." So we went back to the physio room, and the physio, Kelso, had got a stuffed dog in a wee dog bowl, and he'd put it in the medical bench, and we all get back into the change room, and Kelso started shouting, "Help us, help, come and help us, something's happened, come through." And he was giving CPR to the dog on the medical bench. And Yegi was not happy. Not a happy bunny. It's quite a bad story, but it was funny. He was not impressed. The rest of us found it quite funny though. He's actually got tattoos of the dog's date of birth and when it died up his side. That's how much he loved this dog. So sorry, Craigie, for telling that story. I've got a dog myself now, and I know how I would feel if it died, but it was a good laugh at the time. Second story was another one when I was at Queen of the South, actually, and we were in a Christmas night out in Liverpool in fancy dress. It was quite a funny day. Neil McFarlane wore his costume back to front and wondered why Neil Scally had picked up the fake costume for him, but he didn't realise that all the muscles for the costume were on his back. I'm not sure how he didn't feel it, but he wore it back to front for the majority of the day until we couldn't take it anymore and had to tell him. Stephen Simmons was dressed as a ninja and ran up the side of the wall, past the next doors as the woman was pressing the buzzer to put the shutters down, and forward rolled underneath and pulled his sword out, and the poor girl, and she nearly collapsed. It was pretty bad, but it was quite funny as well. But then later on that night, we were waiting to get into a club, and me, Gary Arbuckle and Dobbs were standing. I was dressed as Ali G, Gary Arbuckle was dressed as Scooby-Doo, and Dobbs was dressed as Austin Powers. And Dobbs likes him on, so when we were standing, me and Gary were a wee bit worse for wearing Dobbs is giving his a lecture. Just shut up, we're nearly at the bouncers, the two of you, just be quiet, we're not going to get in. Please, shut up, I'll speak, we'll get in, then do what you want. Aye, no bother Dobbs, that's fine. So we're maybe second in the line to the bouncers, and Dobbs turns round and goes to lean on the fence that was keeping everybody in the pavement, but the fence wasn't connected to anything. So the fence fell over and Dobbs fell out into the middle of the street, dressed as Austin Powers, right in front of the bouncers. Needless to say, didn't get in. Me and Gary Arbuckle just walked straight in during the commotion of Dobbs lying flat on his back. And he had to go up the road and get changed. So that was pretty funny. Flying Austin Powers. And the last one is just a wee short one. We were at Partick and Ryan Scully. We had a day out at the golf lounge, and we told Ryan Scully that you had to wear golf clothes and bring your golf clubs. And he was quite young at the time, maybe 19. And he didn't drive, and he got the bus the whole way across Glasgow with his golf clubs and golf trousers and golf t-shirt, and we said you need to really golf it up. So he had golf trousers and golf t-shirt, golf hat, full set of golf clubs on the bus, all the way across Glasgow to walk into us sitting in my gear for the night out, no golf clubs, sitting having a beer, and absolutely killing myself laughing. So yeah, that was pretty funny. It was a shame, and he did get the bus the whole way back across Glasgow to take his golf clubs home and get changed. But things like that's some people maybe not like that kind of banter, but that's football. That's what it was like when we were younger. And you just had to take it as a laugh. There was no harm meant. Nobody was hurt in the making of these stories. So yeah, good laugh, but that's my 3 stories. You can take your pick.
Thanks, Rob, for this week's interview. I really appreciate it. Like seeing you out in the park giving 100%. Everyone that's watching, if you know any players, contact us and you'll see them in a future video soon. And if you could subscribe, that'll be really appreciated, because I'm nearly at 200 subscribers. And yeah, there'll be a couple interviews coming out in a couple weeks. So peace.